Ready. What's the little sign? Like this thing?
And away we go.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing, pre-cool villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos, by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another evil episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name's Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 405, recorded Sunday, January 8th, 2020, thrice. Tonight, we're talking about the first Patreon pick of the new year. This one was chosen by your boy Naderade. The movie is Ouija, Origin of Evil from 2016. Before we get into the review, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy Randu. What's up?
Randu! What's up, baby? How you doing? You holding up? You sticking in there? I heard you had some fortuitous football turnarounds this week.
Yeah, the Saxonville Jaguars are in the playoffs, the AFC South champions, but it was a difficult game to watch. It wasn't pretty. It was not a pretty.
What's our alignment with Mercury again right now? Because Jesus Christ.
It's always
this can't be normal.
It's in sextrograde. Is that what they call it?
Oh, fuck.
Sexy
sure, yeah,
grade?
that's what they call it. Sextrograde. No,
yeah. Yeah, nailed it. Okay.
Well, congratulations to the Jaguars football team.
That is my bag, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Last but not least, calling in from Saxonville himself, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy Ouija, Origin of Stains here.
Ooh, low
the origin of the stain.
Yeah, the origin.
Oh,
real low effort this week, guys.
Nah, I spent a lot of time on that one.
Oh man, hours of R&D.
It's an evil stain too.
Who here grew up with
simply evil?
With this game being pronounced Ouija board.
Ouija.
Oh, Ouija,
I heard it
for
Ouija.
Sure.
Yeah,
Ouija,
but I think it's almost funnier. It sounds almost like more of a Hank Hill thing to say Ouija.
Ouija.
I don't know. You boys play with the Ouija board?
Ouija.
Got a hard paw there.
A hard.
The Ouija board.
Ouija.
I hear some fools down south, baby, playing with them Ouija boards. We don't support.
That's not a Texas accent.
I'm developing here. It's a riff. Come on, stick with it.
Sure. Have you guys ever experienced anything like creepy or fucked up when using a Ouija board?
I have never used a Ouija board.
Yeah, I've used a Ouija board maybe one time in an apartment a rented home that I shared with you. So I can't imagine you were not involved in some capacity.
Yeah, I'm sure I was there. I've used it a few times, and the planchet usually just sits on its ass and like nothing happens.
Well, goddamn.
Fucking
that just means you're a bunch of God-fearing, right-thinking motherfuckers playing this game. That's why.
Yeah, I fear God, and that's why the Ouija board won't talk to me.
There you go.
I'm scared of him.
Oh God, please.
He demands my fear, and I give it willingly.
He feeds on it, some might say.
Just 10% of my fear. If it's good enough for God. Let's go ahead and tackle some housekeeping real quick. Okay. Here's another reminder. We have our February poll currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this February. The theme for February is Women in Horror Month. We got 3 movies, all with female directors for you to choose from. The titles are Raw, Censor and Slumber Party Massacre.
You know, I'm trying to find a bump to play in this segment, but literally everything would get us canceled if I bumped it during that.
Well, don't do that, Randus. Bob, how are those numbers looking so far?
So far, it looks like Slumber Party Massacre has about 50% of the vote. Raw
Okay.
and Censor are both at about 25%.
Okay.
Okay, well, it's a
That's
slight
crazy.
shift from last week, maybe.
Slight shift, yeah. Still plenty of days left to vote in the month.
Cool.
Make sure you get those in before the end of January, and we'll see what we're talking about this February.
There's really not a bad pick in the bunch.
No, there's not. Honestly, they would all be pretty dope to talk about. In other Patreon news, we dropped a new mini cast last Friday. If you support us at the $10 level or above, you get access to a whole back catalog of Patreon exclusive episodes. We're almost at 90 now. We're just about to hit 90 on there. We add to that every month.
So 5 more months coming up on summertime. We'll be at 100.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll be
God
over
damn.
100. Yeah. Which is insane in the membrane. Last Friday, Juice dropped a mini cast where he was reviewing season 1 of Wednesday, the Netflix show.
Wednesday. Some of the
Yeah.
Slack crew is throwing some shade my way.
Yeah.
Did you not
Getting real
properly toe the
shady.
company line?
Well, no,
I
think they
don't
were
support this man.
They were just giving me some sass and all good fun. But yeah, so I talked about that and I was pretty favorable and fair, I would say. But
You
yeah,
would say.
I
Yeah,
would
you
say.
You know, I did a full review of my statements and I found I did nothing wrong.
Yeah. So I'll take that.
Flawless.
But yeah, check that out. Wednesday, big hit on Netflix, you know, with the goth kids downtown. So, you know, Jenna Ortega, check that out.
Check it out. We speaking of Patreon, we do have a brand new Patreon supporter. We gotta give shouts outs to.
Hell yeah.
Big thanks to our boy Tyler L for signing up on Patreon and showing us some love. Every dollar you contribute goes right back into the show, and it allows us to keep saying dumb shit every single week. So thank you guys. Thanks for
Thing that
enabling
allows
us.
it. Yeah.
Just-
And here we go.
Here we go. Straight chill and salute.
Slap my ass.
Slap my
The only way that
ass.
the government will give us true free speech is if you support us monetarily.
You like free speech, don't you?
Set us
Yeah,
free.
you're a real big
One-
free speech absolutist, aren't you? Donate some money today.
One ass slap at a time. Set us free. Thank you, Tyler. This Friday, this coming Friday the 13th, we're gonna be dropping a new video on our YouTube. Juice,
God
you wanna
damn.
We
you
are.
wanna talk a little about it? Yeah, God, I hope so. Right?
Oh,
yes, come with me.
Yes, that is correct. We are headed back to the haunted hideaway.
Oh, shit.
Ooh.
Bob has cooked up another new, fresh, delicious horror-themed tiki cocktail.
Oh, shit.
Well, kind of tiki. I don't know, Bob. You lost your coat a little bit. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to call it. But this one is called the Packanack Sazerac. Is that correct, Bob?
Nailed it.
Tell us all about it. Friday the 13th themed.
Yeah, it's I came up with a twist on a classic cocktail, the Sazerac. It's not a tiki cocktail, but it is a very old, very classic cocktail that was created in New Orleans, Louisiana.
a death curse.
Have you
It has
ever
a
been
death
there?
curse. Never heard of it, never been there. I don't know anything about it. But that's all I'm gonna say about the drink. If you want to know the specs and all the inside trader secrets, watch the video dropping on YouTube this Friday the 13th.
Yeah. All right.
Fuck yeah.
Fucking yeah.
Bob, you got all kind of extra shit going on too, Mr. 6 episodes in 6 days.
I know. It's been
Why don't you
It's
go
been a
ahead
lot.
and tell us about all the bullshit you've been doing?
Tell us about the
And we'll-
bull.
And we'll
shit.
pretend to listen and be intrigued by it.
I'm not
Right.
going to pretend.
y'all just hang out for about half an hour until I'm done. Thanks.
Mhm.
At the time of this episode's release, Let's Get Physical Media will have already dropped a brand new commentary track.
Oh, wow.
On what?
Mikey and I recorded a commentary for Friday the 13th, Part 6.
Wow.
Jason Lives.
How much does it
Oh.
cost?
It's free 99, mother trucker.
Oh my
You son of a bitch.
Wow, these responses are so genuine. It's
But wait.
amazing.
Is there more?
There is somehow more.
Tell me about it.
Well, yeah, check out Let's Get Physical Media anywhere you get your podcasts, and you can listen to Mikey and I talk shit all over the top of Friday the 13th, Part 6. The last bit that I have here is I had a guest spot that's going to be dropping this Thursday, the 12th. G-Baby and Steve over at Waxing the Porpoise were kind enough to let me ruin their show, and we're going to be reviewing The Fog.
Nice.
So check
Yeah.
out Waxing the Porpoise.
Nice.
You know, it's nice to see you ruin something else for a change. It'd be real. It's real good.
So with the
Way to get out of your comfort zone there, Bob.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know,
man.
right? Let's review John Carpenter movies. I've never done that before. No, The Fog fucks. Check it out. It was a lot of
The Fog
fun.
does
And, thanks to G-Baby and Steve for inviting me on again. So fucking this week we got something dropping Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Enjoy the content, please.
Wait, what's
Is
coming
there
on
anything-
Thursday?
My guest spot with Waxing
Yeah,
Purpose. The
that's
thing that I
what it is.
just said.
But wait a minute.
Um,
Did you have any other guest spots?
no, that's it. God,
That's it?
God in
That's all
heaven.
you did, Mom? Just
That's all
that?
that's coming out.
We were
this
counting
week.
on you.
That's it for now. Anything else you guys have to mention? Did I forget anything?
Nah.
Oh, we thought you had it covered, but I guess not.
Fantastic. The house is clean.
I'm glad
This house is clean.
someone's doing their job.
Oh man, just nailing it. We are
Gonna
gonna
be a
get
good
into
episode.
the main event. We're talking about Ouija, Origin of Evil, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, I know you got this box.
Got it. It's right here. You
How
saw it
is
already.
Is it good?
It's a
It
fine.
cost
box.
$5.
Yeah, something like that. It was pretty cheap, to be honest. It's got some bonus features, deleted scenes, making of, commentary with your boy Mike Flanagan, the
Mhm.
director, writer, and editor of this film. If you didn't know, now you know. Yeah, Ouija: Origin of Evil came out 2016 with a runtime of 1 hour and 39 minutes. It is a prequel to the movie Ouija. It's also rated PG-13, so keep that in
Wow.
mind. This has a whole bunch of fuckers in it. Elizabeth Reeser's in it, Lulu Wilson, Annalise Basso, Henry Thomas, Doug Jones is in here for a second, Kate Siegel, some other folks. Plot synopsis brought to you by the back of the box is as follows. It was never just a game. Inviting audiences again into the lore of the spirit board, Ouija: Origin of Evil tells a terrifying new tale in 1967 Los Angeles. A widowed mother and her 2 daughters add a new stunt to bolster their seance scam business and unwittingly invite authentic evil into their home. I
Oh,
only
shit.
purchase authentic evil, okay?
It's
Gotta
only
be the
evil
real
comes
deal.
from the evil section of France, as I recall.
We got evil at home, Bob. Put it back.
I live in evil France. Oh, boys. Have you seen this movie before? Would you recommend people check it out? Randy, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, actually, I had seen this movie before, despite I don't think seeing any other Ouija movie in my entire horror film viewing profession or hobbyist or whatever. I have not seen but this one, and I would say that I am a very, very light recommend, sort of a Sunday afternoon watch for me. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there.
Right on. Juice, what about you?
I had never seen this before. I've never seen the first film, and yeah, I'd also give a light recommend. I would say this is pretty much like a down the middle, like pretty straightforward possession / haunting type of film. PG-13, so that's it's
That is
pretty
notable.
light, but it's like pretty straightforward, kind of what you're getting. It is what it is. So if you're just kind of jonesing for that feel, this one's pretty pretty solid. Bob, would you recommend people check this out?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page with y'all. It's a bit of a light recommend. It's certainly better than the first Ouija movie. I think decent like PG-13 horror is really important, and we definitely need it. I think there's better and worse than this. So yeah, it is kind of middle of the road a bit, and we'll get into all the details in a second. So if you haven't seen the movie before, we're going to spoil the shit out of it, and here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Bob, do you have a plot synopsis?
You know it.
Can you
know
skip
it.
to the end, please?
It's fairly short, so yes, I can.
Okay.
Here goes the full plot for Ouija, Origin of
Go,
Evil.
go.
In 1967 Los Angeles, widow Alice Zander is running a business out of her home as a spiritual medium. Her two daughters, Lena and Doris, assist her in scamming her clients into believing they can actually contact the dead. Alice incorporates a Ouija board into her act and accidentally contacts a spirit named Marcus, who slowly begins to possess Doris. Doris gets wind the bank is foreclosing on their home, and she uses the Ouija board to contact who she thinks is her deceased father. He directs her to a hole in the basement wall where she finds a sack full of money. She gives it to her mother, and Alice uses the Ouija board to ask the spirit questions only her husband would know. When he answers correctly, she is convinced the spirit is him. Doris eventually becomes fully possessed by Marcus, and Lena is worried about her sister. She finds several papers written by Doris in Polish, which is a language that she doesn't know. Lena takes them to Father Tom, her school principal, who comes by the house for a seance. He asks Doris to contact his dead wife, and she seemingly does. Afterwards, he tells Alice and Lena that Doris contacted somebody else. He was thinking answers in his mind. She read his mind and repeated them back. Some of them were correct, some of them were incorrect. Father Tom also had the Polish translated, and it turns out they are journal entries written by a man named Marcus, who was a Holocaust survivor. He was later taken captive by a sadistic doctor and tortured in the house's basement. Lena's boyfriend shows up to the house and is killed by Doris. Alice, Lena, and Tom burn the Ouija board. They find the torture room in the basement. Father Tom is briefly possessed and later killed by Doris. Lena is shown the spirit of her father, shown by the spirit of her father, that she must sew Doris's mouth shut to quiet the voices. She does so and accidentally kills her sister in the process. Ghost Doris is reunited with her father. The spirits then possess Lena, and she stabs and kills her mother. Lena is committed to a mental institution for the murder of her mother and disappearance of her sister. Lena creates a Ouija board on the floor of her room and tries to contact her sister's spirit. We get one final scare of an evil Doris flying towards a doctor at the hospital, and then there's a post-credit sequence that takes place 47 years in the future, where a still institutionalized Lena receives a visit from someone claiming to be her niece. Roll them credits that have already rolled.
Wait, claiming to
God
be her
damn.
niece? Wait,
Yeah, her
did I
niece.
miss-
It's a post-credit sequence.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Is
shit.
a
I didn't stick
P-
around for the.
It's like the Marvel
PCS.
universe. It's like
It's this
I don't
pre-Marvel, dude.
Can you
This
say it
movie
one more
invented The
time?
Marvel universe.
What happened? The niece? What?
yeah.
They
So Lena
Lin
is
Shaye shows
still,
up.
yeah,
Oh.
Lena's still in the crazy bin, and then her
Uh-huh.
niece shows up, and she's old because it's 47 years later. There you go.
How does her niece show up?
The niece, they
Dude.
don't show the niece. It's a reference to the first movie.
You gotta
Okay.
watch the first movie.
No,
It's-
not gonna do that.
Yeah,
You
that's-
gotta do it.
Not
You
gonna do
have
it.
to do it.
So who
It's
is
either-
Lin Shaye?
Dude, it's in the first movie. It's not in this movie. You gotta watch the first movie.
All right.
God
So-
damn.
I
Are
won't
you
do
called a
that.
cootie queen, you lint licker?
I'm not going to do that unless someone pays me. So.
You lick this
Hold on.
lint.
Hey, they paid us for this one.
No, I watched
Pay to
it.
rate. Yep.
Yeah.
You can buy
Manny
Justin,
your
is
word.
what
I
he's
got
saying.
$7.50 to watch Ouija.
Whoa.
You can buy Justin for a low price of 69 cents.
That's a low
Um.
price.
So
So here's
yeah,
the movie.
yeah. So
Here's-
this movie, I was talking to Bob yesterday, and I was kind of like, this like really just feels like a Conjuring light. This came out, I don't know, 7 years after The Conjuring. And Conjurings are, so maybe you could say, if you wanted
3 years.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Okay. So, if you wanted to kind of go the route of, I want to watch a movie like The Conjuring, but you can't go the hard R, I think this is a pretty solid alternative.
Yeah, I think this movie kind of sets itself apart from the original in a lot of ways, but something that like really does catch your eye is sort of the 1960s aesthetic of this. I think there was a lot of attention paid to it, and like you can sort of feel like the vibe of it. I don't know. It feels kind of like an old school horror movie in certain scenes, anyways. It sort of like blends some of that with like modern tropes that I don't think totally work. I wish they would have sort of stuck with the James Wan sort of like school of like old school jump scares and like not getting too fancy and not showing you too much. They sort of get away from that old school 1960s 70s horror movie feel, but I dig like it's got a very like filmic look. The lighting and like the set dressing and the outfits and the cars and like they paid a lot of attention to all that, and I really dug like the feeling of it. They even had like the little like cigarette
holes,
burns.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
had too many.
those, maybe too. Yeah, I was gonna say like it's one thing to throw that in once, maybe twice in your
It's supposed to be on there specifically
like,
3 times, right?
I don't know exactly.
I don't remember. I think
supposed
twice
to do the I think it's
reels.
Yeah, okay, twice.
Yeah,
I mean that's what I'm
reels,
thinking of.
yeah.
3 reels. Yeah. So yeah, it was like 5 or 6 times at least, because I noticed it pop up a lot too.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did. I did like the aesthetic of this. You know what this really kind of actually reminded me of a lot was Annabelle Creation. I think.
Dude, for real.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
actors, man.
Yeah, the kid actors, it's the kind of prequel setting where the first one you were like very, very underwhelmed. And so you really didn't want to watch this one. But then ultimately you do watch this one. You're like, hey, okay, that was better than I expected, better than the original, but still just kind of like, okay.
The interesting thing about that is that Lulu Wilson is the same little girl in both films, basically.
Is she? Oh, is she in Annabelle Creation too?
She is, yeah.
Oh,
and she's also plays in this movie, what's her name? Ray. Oh gosh, I'm gonna get this wrong. Elizabeth Reeser plays the mother, the whatever, the fortune teller, and her daughter is Lulu Wilson. And Lulu Wilson plays a younger version of her in Hill House.
Okay.
So there's a lot of Flanagan repeat characters in this too. Which I actually like. I had seen this movie before, but I did not ever register in my mind until this time around that it is a Flanagan film. And it's like, it was the minute I saw somebody I recognized from Hill House, I was like, oh shit, this is definitely a Flanagan movie, isn't it?
It's all his squad, yeah,
for sure.
Especially the priest. That dude's in fucking everything. But but Annabelle Creation was not Flanagan, right?
No.
Okay. I got a little confused about what Randy said.
But it kind of like it does have like that same sort of feel. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I get these two confused in my head, and I don't think it's just because the same little girl's acting it. Because honestly, like, a lot of movies, like one little girl's as good as the other a lot of the time. But,
whoa,
it's true. But it just like it hits that note of being like. I think some of the pressure's off to be a tie-in almost, and some of the like more pressure's on to be original with the concept. So like with this one, the Ouija board barely factors in really in this story. It's a means to an end, really.
You don't even like really need it. I mean, she looks through the planchet hole and can see some
ghosties. That happens.
I think that's kind of dumb. I don't like that in this movie. Like really just the girl actually has a bit of a gift in the spirits take advantage of her. I don't like the board sits there and like they use it some of the time and then they burn it and like it doesn't change anything. Like nothing really happens when they get rid of it.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the big kind of problems for me. It's it's not one of those things where it's really gonna like eat at me because ultimately I'm not gonna think about this movie much. So it's kind of like But if I'm going to start picking apart this movie, I'm thinking like, okay, they've lived in this house, which we ultimately finds out has been haunted the whole time. time. And some of the things, the reasons they know about the family, answers about the family, is because this, it's another spooky basement where there's bones. It's a mix. It's got a little bit of poltergeist. It's got some conjuring stuff going on. But the spooky basement, there's, bones down there, crazy guy that lived there killing people. And so his spirit has been there. He knows some answers or whatever. But like they're pretending to be mediums this whole time. Like that's the woman's job. So they're literally every day they're reaching out to the spirits, and opening themselves up to this.
I had that same thought.
Yeah, the Ouija board, the Ouija board has nothing. The Ouija board has nothing to do, or should have nothing to do with now the spirits can take over or anything like that.
The magic of Hasbro, dog.
Yeah, really.
That's what lets them communicate with the dead.
It's the official licensing that does it.
Yeah.
I really dig the setup of this movie, though. I think it's a cool idea to have this mom who's just trying to make ends meet for her family, and she's a full-blown swindler, and her daughters are helping her pull the strings literally and make it happen. I thought the intro scene was really neat, and I kind of wanted to see more of that, to be honest.
That's interesting that you guys have both and you're not wrong to Juicy said, oh, they're scamming people. Rob, you said she's a swindler. That's all true, but the movie does not position you to dislike these people for doing that. I don't not very hard if they do at all. And to me, it's they make a very Flanagan-esque appeal to this is one of the things I actually respect about the movie, is that even characters who are doing things that on first blush seem something that wouldn't be acceptable
in any other film. Yeah.
They find an angle for those. He finds an angle for those characters to make that decision that does not make them inherent monsters. It's not, they don't give the black and white treatment to that. And I kind of appreciate that, although it isn't expanded throughout the entirety of the film. It's really only in bits and pieces that you sort of see that level of empathy going forward, and really only with these three characters, which are the important ones, in fairness.
Now, I will say I was actually pretty sour. I mean, not in a strong way, because you're right. He does treat it in a much more kind of gray area thing. But I was pretty sour on the mom through a decent amount of this, especially when she's keeping her daughter out of school, and making her do this thing. I don't know. It just, Flanagan definitely softens it and, gives her the single mom really struggling kind of appeal. I don't know, but there were a couple times the way she kind of handled the foreclosure and the making her daughter stay home from school. And I don't, there were certain moments, that really, I was this mom kind of sucks.
It's the school thing that really bothered me, because that was after she found the fucking fortune lining the walls of their basement, where they weren't in if they had done that scene before their mortgage was paid off, when they were really barely keeping the house, I could make the exception, but it seems like it was out of sequence in that way.
Yeah, well that's why they try to kind of soften it, where they do the whole thing of, oh, we're actually gonna help people, but it's well, why would you keep your child out of school?
Yeah, exactly. I can be okay with that, to the extent I can be okay with it, except that you keep your kid out of school at when there's no reason, you want your kid to get an education, right? That's the right thing to do, so you can't say that you're doing an even bigger right thing by having a second or third session with this one woman or whatever, because they really only show a couple of people in the hot seat that get this treatment. I don't know. That's the thing that really rubbed me the wrong way. And it's that it really doesn't I feel there was a lot of cooks in the kitchen for the writing in this situation. I think Flanagan's input was fairly limited, because I kind of see him in the feeling of being oh, I do this because I help people and I understand that way of thinking as an empathetic person. But then you start looking at closer at the other way they're behaving, then it kind of seems more scammy than you would like your lead characters to be.
Yeah, I think the Lulu Wilson's character Doris, I think she plays her pretty damn well throughout this movie as a child actress. I think she's up there. There's that one specific scene where her older sister's boyfriend, whatever his name is, comes by, and she's like, "Do you know what it feels like to be strangled to death?" And like just starts explaining it and freaking his ass out. I thought that was a great scene.
You know, I turned to Becky when that happened. I was like, where were all the Wednesday Addams people when this fucking movie came out? Because that's some Wednesday Addams bullshit right there. Like, Christina Ricci could have read that line in fucking Addams Family 3, and it would have made perfect sense.
Now, also too, I thought the older daughter did a good job too. She doesn't have as much to do, especially because she doesn't have to act possessed or whatever, but the family dynamics, and maybe that's part of why you're kind of so forgiving, is because they feel pretty natural. The sister's kind of fighting, but also looking out for each other. The mom being single and like doing some things good and really looking out for daughters, but then other things like, you know. So, you know, maybe that's why, because it gives it a little bit more of an authentic feel. But one thing that Flanagan, you know, even once he's kind of gotten more money, but that dude's effects are always pretty janky to me.
Well, in this movie for sure.
Yeah, this movie
Definitely,
for sure. And he always goes to this. It's like his go-to, and he's used it a ton of times now. I'm thinking Gerald's Game. There's one specific scene that made me think I wasn't going to like the third show that he did. What was the
Midnight Mass?
Midnight Mass, yeah, thank you. So there was a scene in that where he was using the same, like the black figure, just all black figure, that like he uses in here, and it just doesn't look very good. It looks like a shadow creature from a video game or something. It looks like
it does
a Dark Link or something. I mean, not quite, but you know what I'm saying. It's just like it doesn't look good.
Of the effects that are in this movie, I thought that looked the best, actually. The all black, like demons or spirits or whatever. I thought those looked the best. This movie definitely suffers from that, like, mid 2000s over CG haunted house aesthetic where the fucking big mouth Billy Bass thing,
Dude,
big mouth thing. That's the thing.
It drives me fucking crazy. I can't stand it.
It's funny because like this movie, I think there are parts where it does it in a way that is like probably on the upper tier of that treatment for as tried and overdone as it was at the time. There are a couple shots where like, oh, the creepy smile lands just right, I think. You know what I mean? But this is like the sort of thing they're trying to capitalize on this again with like smile and all this other stuff where it's just like it seems like something like an image you'd come across on the internet, not like an actual moving image in a film that you're supposed to be taking seriously. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It doesn't look real, as the unfortunate truth of it. And I think that the all black demons, I can at least kayfabe that a little bit because it's like, okay, they're demons. Like they don't look like they're dripping tar or whatever. They don't look like Beast Wars characters. They do look like they belong in the situation to some extent. I can get by with that because they're supernatural. But when you get to things like, oh, my mouth is disappearing, and you're really focusing on that, and it's just like it really doesn't read right at this time. I think this was like right before they really started getting truly past the uncanny valley on some of these effects.
They even had the whole like Doris flying at the camera and her crawling on the ceiling and the wall. They had like
the
all
speedy
the
crawls.
The only thing they didn't do was like have her sister pull a crazy long strand of hair out of her mouth or something. That's like the only thing they didn't do. They hit all the trademarks, which is I didn't need any of it, you know.
They did, but that's where I felt like, you know, this being a PG-13, it's again kind of like what I was saying with Smile, and I was saying with some other things. Like, if this is the first time you saw something like that, then sure, it would be effective for you and it would scare you as a teenager, probably. But for us crusty old bitches, you know, we're like, man, I've seen that 100 times, you know. But it's fair to criticize because it's literally taken from every film that has predated, good or bad, this subgenre. You know, it really, Flanagan's not doing anything new or special here. He's literally like copying the pages. It feels a little copywritten, a scotch.
This no, and I think that's true, but I also like, if I may defend the multimillionaire for a minute, Flanagan, I think, is very tightly controlled in this by the studio. Like, this is a sequel to a fucking board game tie-in horror movie.
Sure.
Nobody's expecting a lot out of this. Anything that he brings to it that feels authentic is, I think, entirely him. And anything that you like, these check boxes like you're talking about, they do hit all these check boxes. And I think that's something that he did not have say in. I don't think that he had a say in whether or not there's like sped up spider crawl with janky like smiley face going on. I do think that he does well enough with it at certain times, like there, like particularly when the boyfriend is digging into the hole in the wall and finds the skull. That whole scene, there's like a shot of her in the background just sort of like jittering with crazy mouth going on, and I thought that was pretty creepy because it was out of focus. It worked better because it was out of focus. So.
To go off that, another moment I did like, I don't want to like keep poo-pooing all over this film, but one of the moments that kind of was not particularly like special or unique, but it was done in a really cool way, was when the little sister was whispering in the older sister's ear, like right after she gets possessed and she's right over, and the kind of effect with the voice in her eyes. I was like, oh, because it's kind of right up in your face, but it was still effective for me. I was like, whoa, that's pretty, I wasn't expecting that. It was pretty good. I like that effect.
I don't know how much I mean, Flanagan might have had full control over this movie. I'm not really sure, but something interesting is he had 3 movies come out in 2016. So he may have been spread a little thin, to be honest, across all of them. That's a lot of work. But he had Hush came out, Before I Wake, and then Ouija, Origin of Evil all came out in the same year. I think Before I Wake was shelved. I don't think he actually made that in 2016. I think it was shelved for a couple years. So he probably only made that too. I haven't either.
I haven't even heard of it. I'm looking at it.
Neither. Hush was big when it came out, or like it was one of those kind of like underground.
It had rumblings.
Like
Ouija Origin of Evil had rumblings for being like, oh, better than you think. And then Hush had rumblings for being like, oh, this is the, like, it was like, it felt like more Flanagan's baby. And that this is all just instinctually how I feel about them. I don't know either how much involvement or how much control he ultimately had over either project, but
I mean, even in stuff that he's made for Netflix, which we know he has full control of, you can still see some of those sort of goofy tropes used, but he's refined it, and it works way better. But still, like the Big Mouth Billy Bass is used.
Well, even I think and this might be a subject of a video of itself or something. But if I'm looking at Flanagan's this haunted effects that he's doing, I think Midnight Mass mostly kind of stands on its own because it was pretty unique what he ultimately did with that. But he has done a lot of these hauntings and these houses and possessions and stuff like that, and I really think the pinnacle is Hill House. The effects, because I think there's an open mouth Billy Bass thing going on in Hill House as well. But in that one, and also
subtle and more sparing.
Yeah, and you see little elements too in here of the family aspect we were talking about, the kids, and kind of giving it this emotional spin, but also this like nostalgic spin. And so like each one of those things, I agree. I think he is interested in those things. He's kind of like got these tools, so you can see the strings that he's pulling, but ultimately it's kind of like we were talking about with X last year, where X did a lot of new things within its realm, but at the base of it was kind of taking this, we know what this is, and I'm going to make sure that I have the solid foundation of the realm I'm playing in down. And to give Flanagan credit, I think he's got that. He always, even though he's not breaking anything, doing anything crazy in this film, I feel like he's at least going into this realm knowing that, like, I'm going to have this solid foundation. This is the playground I'm going to be messing around in. And he sets it up well. He pulls it off well within that realm.
Yeah, I think that, like, this is a chance for him to cut his teeth on like the modern horror movie tropes. This is a guy who like just 3 years prior made Oculus, and that's clearly what got him these 3 projects he's been working on in 2016.
Oculus.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and that's like one of his first films, Absentia. I don't really know a lot
This
of his
is
other
dope.
ones.
Dan Flanagan's.
But like the idea that like he had these 3 projects makes perfect sense to me. That Hush is sort of like his director's project, Ouija is sort of his commercial project, and then I don't know what Before I Wake was. Maybe that was even like who knows. But like I think that makes a lot of sense as a career trajectory, that he's learning tricks of the trade from a modern movie where he has a little bit of money to play with effects and sort of see what he can do with them. I don't think breaking new ground is what he's aiming at. Even I think he's trying to make a commercial success that hits these tick boxes while also bringing enough of his empathetic like approach to the characters, empathic approach to the characters as he can within that main frame of structure. That's not the right word either, but you guys understand.
Read it. Yeah.
To kind of go off that point too, if I was working for one of these studios or something, and I'm considering directors and things like that, to go off your point of like this kind of being his commercial thing, it shows some as a director and a partner to kind of work with. It shows that he can play by the rule book of the studios without making something that's just complete garbage, which we see a lot of people do and bitch about, studio interference on all this stuff. And I sympathize with that. Absolutely. But
he's got a good style that can bridge that gap, which is fortunate for him.
Yeah. It'd be like if you all of a sudden you had to watch, some Hallmark Christmas movie, but it actually turned out that you were like, wow, that was pretty good. We just expect them to be kind of throwaway garbage, but it doesn't mean that they have to be. It doesn't mean that they have to be like blow your fucking mind, artistic, genius things or anything, but at least like put some kind of respect
just an honest
into your
attempt.
craft. Yeah. And that's what I feel like this is. It's like, hey, you know what? I can recognize that this is based on a fucking board game, big studio production, throw it out, to get butts in the seats. But I respect the hustle because it seems like you actually put some effort into it.
Well, he put effort into it and knows enough about what he's doing and his style to infuse it all. Like he's partially lucky that his style it works well with this kind of movie.
True.
Because some like young David Lynch want to direct this movie, it would be fucking bananas, and it would not be a commercial success by any means. But like I don't know. I think that there's something to be said about like as an artist who's like getting a few opportunities, taking a route that is purely like, okay, this is me learning how to be a technical director. I'm going to learn how these technical processes work. I'm going to bring as much of my flavor to it. Like, I think that every director who makes these movies, I think they're all trying. I think the guy who made The Nun was trying, but like Flanagan is a good director who is only able to show off what he can do in certain forms at that time, and these are what proves his ability, like you said, to play by company rules, but also to bring his flavor to it in a very direct way. Like I don't know, we could talk director style about this movie for a while, but I think we should probably spend a little time back with the main film.
Well, I did want to, I started off with some negatives, and I don't want to be like completely harping on this because I think ultimately, we'll get into it with our scores, but it goes back and forth with me. There's a lot of positives in here. There's also a lot of negatives too. So I'll jump into another negative, which was the ending of this film felt very kind of confusing and flat for me. How did you guys feel about the ultimate ending of like the reveal of this doctor, but then everything that kind of goes down on like in the basement? What did y'all think of that?
Yeah, I didn't love it. I didn't love it either. I thought the inclusion of like a twisted doctor that was doing, like torturing people and doing experiments in the basement or whatever was kind of cool, because then the house is just like filled with ghosts that they're communicating with, and the ghosts are like manipulating the people and stuff. I thought that was like a nice idea, but it like the doctor and also Marcus both having been involved in the Holocaust and moving to the same town, and then Marcus just happening to see the doctor and like being abducted by him. Like it just there's like a lot of weird coincidences that just didn't seem like it made a whole heck of a lot of sense, and I feel like it was like largely just to justify the Polish include, like, you know, the weird language that she didn't really know.
Think it was to I think it was to give a little bit of credence to like this figure as like they could establish more. They needed somebody to explain who the ghosts were. Basically,
I also whenever Alice and the Father Tom like actually find the hidden room, I was so surprised that they didn't immediately bust out the measuring tape and start measuring that bonus square footage, dog. You know, like,
back to back spooky basements. Here we go. Well, it kind of, this is where the weakness fell, because again, with the whole idea of the board not really mattering, they just kind of, things happen and they don't really seem to matter or make a lot of sense. And one of the things, like that scene, it was pretty bad how it was executed, to be honest, talking about director stuff. But when she, you know, the whole thing of, oh, I see my dad and he's telling me to like sew my sister's mouth shut and it's supposed to have some kind of effect. But her, like the scene shot from the bottom of her like doing the hook looked so dumb. Like it just looked bad to me.
It did it remind you at all of It, with like the deadlights in her mouth?
Yeah, oh yeah, the eye in her mouth. Yeah. That's fair. But also too, the whole thing was it didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
The whole thing of her, I see my dad and he's gonna tell me, but it didn't. It's like, what? And the thing can jump people to people, no problem. It jumps into the priest, it jumps into the sister.
Yeah.
It's like, why? It was like, what is I don't know.
Doris like screams and then knocks the priest off the stairs, and I guess that's when it transfers. So it's like an audible, loud fucking transfer, I guess. It's very strange. And also something else that bothered me is like, it's not just like a normal possession that's happening in this movie. Because like if you're possessed, like Doris has full-blown fucking superpowers when she's possessed. She can make people do things like she makes that kid shoot himself in the face, and she can read people's minds. Like that's not a normal possession, and I was kind of confused with that stuff.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. Like I don't really like the way that any of that stuff is played. And I don't really think that it like, I feel like arc-wise, like not a lot of the characters in this movie have anything that resembles a satisfying arc to me. Yeah. Like I know that a lot of them, you know, get killed, so that's that. But there's just something about like I don't know what the resolution is. Like the only thing, like there's no real resolution with the dad. The little girl goes off with the dad and that's it. And that it was kind of like shot in a way that was confusing to me. I don't know about you guys, but like her like seeing her dad and seeing her mom there, I was like, oh, is she gonna undo her mom, like unhook her mom now? And then she walks away with her dad and it's like she's dead. And like the girl killed her. The whole shit, everything that happened down in the basement was confusing to me. And I don't really think it needed that Joseph Mengele approach to bring like shit to it. I think that it's interesting that they did, to Bob's point, like, but they didn't really capitalize on it. These aren't like why are the ghosts gonna fucking go after these kids? They were victims of a monster and a madman, but like, does that make them monsters too? Like, I don't understand. Like it does, like it, that's where like the empathy that I give credit to Flanagan for just sort of ends. And it just doesn't really like track with the rest of the movie or even the rest of his filmmaking.
Well, that's the thing too, is because they even, it just gets so muddy that, you know, when you're along for the ride, it's like, okay. But another thing, you know, where you're thinking about it, it's like, but then you don't care much to think about it. But the whole thing is, oh, there's a doctor and it's haunting these people. But they make several references too, even in the explanation of the doctor, of there's something else here too. And you see a demon. It's like, you know, a shadow, full on. Like once they get away from the jump scares and it literally like jumps into her mouth. You know, and so that's kind of where it's like, is it a demon? Is it the doctor? But then you're like, it doesn't matter. You know, it's nothing. You know,
and that's the thing is like, ultimately, this is like a very frivolous, it feels like a B movie in the truest sense, where it's like just like things that happen on screen that are meant to give you a little bit of momentary fright or whatever. And on that level, it's fine. It works great for what that's supposed to do. And I think that's really good for a PG-13 sort of intro to horror level movie. It's just like as a scrutinizing adult, I'm looking at it like, man, this is like, especially after seeing what, and this is, I hate to bring it back, but it's like after seeing what Flanagan can do, it's like, man, this feels really like not nearly as much thought was put into this as even Oculus just a few years before, or Hush for that matter. And
Oculus
I feel
is
like that has to do with
tight, yeah.
the commercial nature of the film and, you know, whatever else is in the mix because of that.
Something I thought was pretty neat was Doris kills Mikey, the boyfriend, and he like drops down. He's hung. He's just like dangling there. And like I was confused because when they see it happen, they don't even begin to think about helping that dude. They're just like, oh, he's dead as fuck, and move on. But later on,
girlfriend too, just
nobody fucking cares at all. But later on, there's a neat jump scare that it was pretty original, I thought, where like the sheet, I guess, that he's hanging from almost acts like some sort of like bungee cord or something.
Dude.
He like flies at them
and grabs her.
What are your
like,
feelings about that? Tell me quickly.
I was surprised. It was like, oh damn, I've never seen that before. I thought it was cool enough. I think it worked. Cool? Yeah.
I didn't think it worked.
Yeah,
that shit made me laugh like out loud. I cackled watching that happen because it looked like somebody on fucking like Legends of the Hidden Temple had just jumped down and grabbed it. Like, it was very silly feeling. It was like yoink. Like I feel like there should have been a sound effect in there.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, what is the motivation? It can kill them at will. It can possess them at will.
Yeah,
it's like,
the
what
rules
are we
are
doing here?
nothing.
You know, really, what are we doing? Yeah.
Are they ghosts? Are they demons? What are these things?
What is it?
Is it a Joseph Mangala? Is it like there's a million sort of like prompts, but no conclusions to draw from this movie?
Yeah. There was speaking of Flanagan, like obviously like borrowing from a lot of movies that came before this and kind of mashing them together. There was like that one very obvious nod when the father Tom like finally shows up to the house and just sort of stands outside and looks at it. It's the Exorcist
for sure
nod. So like, you know, he's definitely, it seems like he's doing the best he can with what he has. It does kind of feel that way, I guess. Maybe they gave him like a half written script and they were like, fix this in a week and then we're fucking rolling or something.
Maybe. Yeah.
I'd hate to place the like blame at his feet if there was other involvement, but I'd also kind of hate to not give him the ultimate credit, which is being the director. You take the good, you take the bad. As much as I like your other work, like there's some shit here that doesn't quite hang together.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, there was a couple instances, like smaller things that I enjoyed in the movie. Like the older daughter goes to that party at the very beginning with her friends, and that's where she plays with the Ouija board. The fucking house looked amazing, but also like whenever the girl's mom finally comes home and like busts in on them when they're playing with a Ouija board, her scream is so fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that was fucking great.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah,
like
all
that.
the kid stuff felt pretty good. The teenage stuff. And even I don't know for sure, but at least the girl playing the older daughter looked age appropriate. She looked like a teenager. She didn't look like a 27-year-old woman trying to be she looked, 15, 6, whatever, and they played that pretty well.
Yeah, I think so too. And it was 35. Also like it was not overly innocent or overly like, like preachy about children or whatever. It was like the way kids act or anything like that. There wasn't a whole lot of that stuff, which just kind of streamlines things a little bit. I wonder, like, this is a movie, I know that they have to include the Ouija board. It's licensed from fucking Hasbro or whoever, Parker Brothers, whoever it is. And, like, so they have to include it. What would be the, like, shortcoming if you were to remove the fact that they were fortune tellers entirely and have a different angle on their relationship, just getting back to square one after the death of a father, and then one of the girls want to contact him with a Ouija board? Like, what's... Like, I understand, like, it's kind of nifty, like approach, but at the same time, it's like it's not economical of your story.
Well, it's not. Well, there's a couple things. I like that it kind of adds a little bit of character depth in the daughter being skeptical, because she's like, and even kind of calling it out when the mom becomes susceptible. The only voice of reason for a little bit is the teenage girl, where I really actually did like this scene where she's like, I can't explain it, but look at it for a second and see it's literally what we do to manipulate other people, so I
did like that
scene
scene
here. Yeah, so I liked that. Yeah.
I just wonder, like, if there wasn't a way to achieve some of that stuff, like, in
I
a
think
way
it's
that,
easy to,
because it really to this way, it just kind of asks the question of, like, why do none of these other seance techniques, like, the ghosts don't want any part of that? They only
That's what
care
I
about
was
the officially
thinking.
licensed Hasbro device.
Now, to be fair, it's kind of a double for me, because at the same time, I feel like for a movie that's based on a board game, he made it as soft as possible. I felt like he didn't shove it down your throat. It was pretty minimal. There was that ridiculous scene at the end where they burn it, and they come back and it's on the table again. I was like, okay, I realize what's going on here. But there wasn't a whole lot of those moments. And I feel like if we're gonna give him credit for, some of it, I feel like I want to, tout that a little bit, saying like, it seems like maybe he ran some interference, if I had to guess, and like he really kept it like as minimal as possible, which kind of worked in the best kind of way.
We are now just Mike Flanagan's PR team. That's all we're.
I know we're really running interference for him right now.
I do. I mean, excluding Clue, like, this is a pretty decent, probably the best like board game movie, right?
Yeah. I mean, how many board game movies are there, though?
There's that fucking Battleship movie. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I don't know.
Where's our Risk game?
There's got to be other ones. Those are the ones.
Jumanji.
Jumanji. Well, but that was.
Yeah.
That wasn't
that made after
before. Yeah.
Chicken or the egg?
Know. Yeah.
I think the chicken came first.
Face Off is an unofficial Guess Who adaptation. We all know that.
Everybody knows that.
We all know that.
I mean, there's some, you could also lump in video games with that. Games, they don't have good reputation. Yeah. Doom.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to mention before we go and rate Ouija Origin of Evil?
We got to review that. That's a kaiju movie,
Which movie?
Rampage.
Rampage. Oh boy.
With Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Invite the ire of the kaiju
for that
freaks,
one,
please.
Nobody pay for that one. Nobody pay for that one.
Oh, you just insured it, man. You just signed our death warrant. Your protestations.
It's on par. It's on par with Godzilla '98, Bob.
Fuck off. Let's rate this. Now we're definitely rating this. Out of 5, Randuce. Why don't you kick us off? How do you feel about Ouija Origin of Evil?
Ouija.
Yeah. So like, this is a movie that like I don't actively dislike. Like, I don't hate this movie. And I also, though, like, the more you think about it, the more you pry at it, the more you really like dig into the meat and bones of what's going on here. There's some treasure in there, but mostly it's commercial stuff. It's commercial trash in a lot of ways. And, I don't begrudge really the movie for being what it's set out to be. But I do find some shortcomings in the way some of the arcs are handled, like things that are flexible that were just handled in a way that I didn't really think worked great. That said, I think that like I said earlier, like, there's a lot of empathy in how each individual character reacts to things, how they're positioned in certain ways to where you understand their motivations for whatever they're doing next. And that's an important thing that a lot of these style movies just doesn't really give a lot of credence to and doesn't spend a lot of time on. They're just out to check those boxes, get something into theaters so that kids can go and fucking watch a movie on a Wednesday night. So like, I appreciate the care that was put into this. I appreciate that there's like some teeth cutting going on, but some of the flaws that I would point out besides those are like, I think that some of the mouth effects are just a little bit more than needs to happen. I think that there's a few that work, but I think that like one thing that Flanagan does a lot better later on in like Hill House, etc., is subtlety with those things. He doesn't need to call them out so cleanly. and he doesn't need to put them directly in the center of frame focus. It works better if you don't with those kinds of effects. So there's some shortcomings there. Ultimately, I just kind of feel like this is a down the middle movie for a number of reasons. And while, like I said, I don't hate it, I don't love it, it's going to be a 2.5, I think, for me. I think that's a pretty fair assessment of what we get.
Randy's 2.5. All right. I'm gonna slide in here real quick.
Okay, Bob, out of 5.
Oh, thank you.
Ouija.
I feel kind of similarly.
Origin
Orgasms of Evil. Let's talk about it.
of Evil. What do you think, Bob? Tell me.
Oh.
Come on. What do you think about it? Go ahead.
Let me tell you right now. I think oh my god, the family dynamic is pretty good. I think the female, like the little girls, do a great job. They're good child actors, and like the mom, there's like a specific moment in the movie we didn't talk about where like her older daughter gets called on by Mikey, and she sits him down and like reads his palm, and then like very calmly threatens him. I thought that was like a nice little moment. You get the sense of like the family dynamic, and it's very sweet and tender, but it does certainly fall apart by the end. And you get that Flanagan special sauce at the beginning way more heavily. I think some of the jump scares work. The unhinged jaw situation is just absolutely out of control. I think the styling of the movie and the set dressing is pretty damn phenomenal. And I don't know, it's far from the worst PG-13 movie I've seen. I think it's far from the best as well. Some of the stuff with like the Ouija board being able to see ghosts through the planchette didn't make any sense, and then like the actual possessions didn't even like really feel like full-blown possessions. Because like I said, Doris was able to like control people's actions and read their minds, and that none of that really made much sense to me. And like why was Marcus so evil? What did Marcus want? Like, assuming the doctor is dead, why is he possessing this family and making them kill each other? Like, what's really happening with the ghosts here? It doesn't really make much sense. Why does it have anything to do with World War II? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense either. It's a decent haunted house movie though, and I think if I was a 13-year-old kid watching this far before I'd watched like a million other haunted house movies, I probably would have got a kick out of it. So I mean, I'm kind of landing where Randy is here, kind of right down the middle. Don't love it, don't hate it. It's okay. I'm gonna hit it with a 2.5 as well. Soju, how do you feel about Ouija, Orgasms of Evil?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot more to add. One thing I will say is I generally did kind of like the character of the priest. I like that guy. He's in a lot of Flanagan stuff. He does a good job. And it was a character who, genuinely like seemed like he wanted to help. And I kind of like the little explanation he did of kind of tricking the ghost. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I just kind of like the scene. And him, I did like the scene of him going through the process of like getting tense, and he's thinking of something going on, and then he explains later. It was a pretty cool little scene. One more thing though about this is to kind of knock Flanagan a little bit is thinking back, it's almost like too many tropes that he hits. And because it's fine to do an Exorcist reference, that I don't have problem with that kind of stuff. The little nods, but I mean, when you break it down, you got a haunted house, that's fine. But like the pulling of the sheets, god damn, how many scenes of that are we gonna see in our lifetimes? An evil doctor, a spooky basement filled with bones, a shadowy figure. I mean, there's just like your mouth disappearing in the mirror, but then you wake up, oh, it's a dream. And there's just too many of these like tropes that it's just like going down the line of like, let's just pencil this one in, let's pencil this one in. And there's not a need for a whole lot of it. Sometimes it just seems like trying to get by a little bit. But overall, I feel pretty much the same as you guys. I was fine watching it, nothing ever felt kind of offensive to me or was like pissing me off, but mostly just because I wasn't that invested. I just didn't care to think about it too much. Which works in some ways and then doesn't work in some ways. So I think I'm just gonna land at a 2.52. It really is just like an
Hey.
extra medium type of film, and it feels good. If nothing else, thanks Naderade for uniting Straight Chillin' crew after our
For real.
heated
We are
episode.
aligned.
Dude,
We have a
It's rare.
baseline film.
I
And
know.
it's
It's
Ouija,
rare.
Wow,
Origins
feels-
of Evil.
Yeah, feels good to be. Oh, the boys are back. All together.
Boys back there.
group hug. As long as it's naked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to hear from Naderade though.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. He sent in an email. Randy, do you have that?
I do. I'll read off what Naderade sent us, and away we go. Hey there, boys. Hope all is well, and I hope you had a great week. Oh, well, I did it. I finally friggin' did it. I earned myself a U pick, and it only cost me one nude pick for Soju.
Ooh.
So what did I pick for you? I picked Mike Flanagan's Ouija, Origin of Evil. I picked this because I don't believe it gets the attention that it deserves. I think this movie actually has a lot going for it. One being the fact this movie is scary as shit and rated PG-13. There's only a handful of solid scary PG-13 movies, and this is one of them. Sorry, Soju, no yabos in this one. You'll just have to settle with giving this movie 5 stars rather than a 5.5. Another thing, very presumptuous, by the way. Another thing, this is a sequel that is superior to the original. Though I have never seen the original Ouija from 2014, I believe it was rated one of the worst movies to come out that year. So yeah, it wasn't that tough to beat, but you can still add Origin of Evil to the list of sequels better than the original, theoretically. I guess I added that part. Last thing, this is the perfect movie for both seasoned horror movie watchers and people who are new to the genre. It's got a little bit for everyone. For the newbies, it's PG-13, so it's not going to go extreme violence or terror that could potentially turn them off to horror. It may, in fact, trigger access to more horror movies. For the veterans, such as ourselves, the jump scares in this are top-notch. I'm usually very good at pinpointing jump scares before they hit the screen, and some of them still got me in this rewatch. I give this movie a 4 out of 5 stars, rather. I love you guys. Hope you had a great rest of your week. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Hashtag soft for Soju. Keep chilling, Naderade.
Damn, you need to get
You
some
really
pills
brought out
for
the
that, my
softness in
guy.
Nate.
I love that. Soft for Soju. Aren't we all?
I guess.
Yeah, so like he has a much higher opinion of this than I think that we do generally, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I think he makes some good points though.
he
Like
does.
this is a
And
good movie
the
that can
thing
bridge
is,
the gap for people who have seen a lot of horror movies and people who are new to the genre. This would be a good one to take
Yeah.
like your niece or nephew who's getting into horror
Yeah.
movies, some shit like that.
Bob said it good. PG-13 movies are important to the genre, and you don't
They
want to knock them for what they have to be. And so, I do think that this fits in that realm pretty well, and I respect it, for that. But as a movie overall, it's also like really pulling with a lot of pre-established things that other people just developed 40 years ago. I'm still just rolling them out. So some of it feels a little cookie cutter. Can't give it too much credit. So
I do give it credit though, like he does for some of the jump scares. I think that some of them are a little telegraphed,
yeah.
but not as many as you would expect from a movie of this year, of this style.
Mhm.
I feel like after like it was only a few years after The Conjuring or whatever, and they kind of like brought that back to baseline. Like, oh, you can do jump scares that are like earned. It's wow, we haven't done that in a while. Let's try it. And there's some of that going on, but there's also some just sort of like hard cut to next scene with a stinger sound and then some crazy face, and that's all it takes.
Big
So
old
there's
mouth.
a couple of cheaper ones, but I think they do go the extra mile with a few of them. So yeah, I would say that's a fair plus in the plus category.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of huge mouths, so this movie fucked me up. Okay.
These big mouths. I also like want to point out that it was only 3. Like, what was that? Lights Out came out the same year as this, the film adaptation, but the short film that took the internet by storm and is, by most accounts, superior. It came out in 2013, 3 years before this movie when he released Oculus, and the open mouth smile and the like milky white eyes, like It's pretty much directly from that short film that was very much tearing up the
Never
charts
seen it.
internet-wise. Oh, really? I mean, I definitely remember watching it a few times. I was excited to see Lights
I
Out, the film,
think.
because of it. But yeah, I'm not saying that it's ripping anything off, but I am saying that I think some inspiration was in play there.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe we should hire him to do the Straight Chillin' short.
Yeah, we can
Oh
afford
yeah,
Thanks for
He's not
sending
doing
an
things.
email, Naderade. Thanks for picking this week's flick for us to review. We do sincerely appreciate it. Our aggregate on this one is going to be a 2.5. And let's go ahead and jump into the Rotten Tomatoes segment, see what the critics and users think about Ouija, Origin of Evil.
Ouija.
Certified fresh to death.
Ladies and gents, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment. I'm going to ask these two gentlemen to guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate positive score is for both critics and users on RottenTomatoes.com for this film. Ouija Origins of Evil has 126 critic reviews, so that's where we're going to start. Bob, why don't you kick us off? What percentage of that 126 reviewer do you think gave this a positive reception?
I feel like it's probably going to be overall positive, but not crazy positive. So I'm going to take a 65, please.
65. Juice, how about you?
I don't think it's going to be that high. I'm going to go 55.
55. All right, so we have 55 from Juice, 65 from Bob, and 83% from the critic. Certified
Whoa,
fresh.
damn.
Yep.
We were
very
off.
Wow.
higher than anticipated, but like again, it comes down to like I think that I think it's fair to think that a lot of reviewers would find this less offensive than other similar movies of the time. So
Yeah, sure.
And most
Maybe it got some-
importantly, I won.
oh well, yeah. That's the
Well,
important
Bob,
thing.
what do you want to sweep it up tonight?
I hope so. We'll see.
We're all shocked for you, Bob. It's almost like the Jaguars winning a playoff spot. It's unheard of. Going over to the audience score, over 10,000 audience ratings for this film. Juice, we're going to start with you this time. Of those 10,000, what percentage do you think were positive?
Well, damn, I am way off the mark on this one. So, I'll go way higher than I did before, and I'll say 70 deuce.
70 deuce. Bob, how about you?
When in doubt, 69, brother.
69 deuce.
69 dudes!
All right, so we've got 10,000 ratings for the audience, 72 from Juice and 69 from Bob, and 57% from the audience.
Damn, I should have gone back with my damn.
The people
gone
did
back
not
with my
care
damn.
for this one.
Damn. Oh, Bob.
Good thing I brought my broom because it's time to sweep it.
Sweep what?
All that hell skeet. Sweeping it
the
up.
hell skeet?
Whoa.
Oh, Jesus.
Mhm. You got to
It burns.
that.
It
The
burns.
hell skate.
Evil
I'm
slop.
sweeping it.
Orgasms of evil. You heard it here, folks.
Be prepared to be bedazzled.
I'm prepared.
All right, the critics' consensus reads as follows. Ouija, Origin of Evil, swerves its franchise's planchette unexpectedly to yes, with a surprisingly scary and dramatically satisfying follow-up to its lackluster predecessor.
Unexpectedly.
God.
Yes.
That's one of my
Spider-Man
favorites.
is swinging into theaters.
That's one of my favorites.
Unexpectedly, too. Yes.
Rampage is crashing into theaters. Doom is BFGing into theaters.
Ouija is unexpectedly plancheting towards yes.
Way to go,
Well,
guys.
yes.
You found a whole new title structure. You got it. You nailed it. You nailed it. Let's read some negative reviews and see if they're any good or any fun. It's a largely silly, disjointed construction of run-of-the-mill scares and awkward priest jokes. But at least director Mike Flanagan gives us his best shot, which is more than we can say of his predecessor. That's too fair. We need something absurd. Let's go to the users and see if they're more absurd with their criticisms.
I hope so.
Get crazy with it.
It's hard to get through because it was so boring. Had to try a few times until I finally finished it. I honestly don't understand how this movie got such positive reviews. The beginning, middle, and middle half are really slow. The movie is super predictable and is not scary, but could be a lot scarier. Nothing new in this movie. Nothing you haven't seen before in other horror movies that did it better. Not much exciting things happen in this movie, even during the ending. Stuff happens here and you're like, really? That was dumb. I wouldn't recommend this movie at all. It's a total snooze fest.
You know,
half star.
The worst half is the middle half of the movie. That's for sure.
It's the middle half.
The
of
middle
course.
half.
I hate the middle half the most.
You know,
that was great.
If I had a middle half of a movie, it'd be real good. That's my choice.
All
right, that's our Rotten Tomato segment.
I mean, to be fair, there's not a whole lot of. I mean, it's right about like there's not a lot new in here. Nothing. He said nothing.
No,
but,
he's not entirely wrong, but man, I love bad grammar in reviews.
Love
it speaks
to read it.
What we do.
Oh yeah, just like us.
I got some trivia for Ouija.
Oh shit!
Let's
It's
get into it.
totally time for trivia.
It's totally time bomb.
Totally dudes.
Hit me with a planchette towards secrets.
Here we go. The film was shot digitally. Gasp.
Huh?
But director and editor Mike Flanagan, in order to add a retro feel to the film, added elements in post-production to give the appearance of a movie shot on film, including the sprocket holes like we already talked about. They supposedly happen every 20 minutes. So yeah, a lot, frequently. There's an Easter egg in this movie, which is the mirror from Oculus. It's hiding out in the basement in the corner there.
I think that thing shows up in like most of Flanagan's stuff.
I think so too. I heard that it definitely is in Hill House. That scene where they go into that like crazy foyer or like behind the door, whatever.
I feel like it's definitely in Midnight Mass too, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. The term Ouija is, of course, trademarked by Hasbro. And nobody knows exactly where the term came from, but I guess the most popular theory is that it's a combination of the French and German words for yes, we, and ja. Ouija. There you go.
We.
Ja. We. The house. Speaking of lights out, actually. The house used in this movie is the same house that appears in Lights Out.
Jesus Christ. All right.
So they must have shot these.
You find a good location, you use it. It is a good location. That house.
Yeah. It's got good bones.
Great. It's got good bones.
Oh,
yeah. Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is riveting. Let's go.
Yeah, no, we're doing it. Some more information about how the movie was crafted. Flanagan wanted it to look like it was shot in the 70s, of course, so he included some techniques, including antique lenses that he uses, some scene fades and camera zooms instead of steady cams. He also simulated some dust on the negative, which I did not pick up on that.
I didn't either.
Personally.
I didn't either.
There's some subtle warping of the audio track and real jumps, and also a split diopter where both the foreground and background are in focus. I guess that was popular in the 70s.
I always associate that with fucking De Palma because he does that in Carrie and a bunch of other things from that era.
Generally, I thought he did a pretty good job. I think Bob mentioned at the beginning of like the film and kind of look and the dated look. Yeah, I mean, generally it looked solid.
The fact that he committed to a style that wasn't just like the out of the box style of the time is more than enough for a commercial property like this.
It wasn't just like a sepia toned,
just some filter and then he fucking that was it. He just rolled with it.
Behind me, I put the title card. I love the way this title card looks. Even it's great. And then in the credits, he had it in almost in a fisheye lens sort of thing, like you're looking through the planchette. I thought that was cool too. Like little things like that. They count for a lot in a movie like this, I think.
Yeah.
This movie is dedicated to John Yarbrough, credited as J.D. Yarbrough. He worked as a transportation coordinator during the principal photography of the movie, and he passed away before it was completed, which is a huge bummer, but shouts outs to your boy Yarbrough. Pour one out for him.
410.
The release of this movie marks the first Hasbro film, as well as the first Platinum Dunes film to be well received by critics and get a certified fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Hey.
So all other previous movies we talked about a couple of these. Transformers, G.I. Joe, Battleship, Ouija from 2014, Jim and the Holograms, all got rotten ratings apparently. So
What the fuck is Jim and the Hologram?
Jim and the Holograms is like it was like a Saturday morning kids sort of thing in the 80s. A girl that's like, I think she's like or goes around in space and is also a singer, like
I'm too young
Miley
for that.
Cyrus. Yeah,
It's way outside my realm.
like Space Miley Cyrus from the 80s is what it
Sounds
is called.
awesome.
Space Cases. You don't remember that shit, right?
You don't. You were too young, of course.
You were a seaman. This is the last bit I have here. Flanagan, in an interview, revealed that the original cut was 130 minutes long. He cut 40 minutes from it. Doug Jones's scenes as the Devil's Doctor were pretty much removed entirely from the movie. And there's a couple other scenes with Kate Siegel where she pays 2 more visits to the House of the Xanders. Those were all cut as well. So I guess there was way more information about like the evil doctor's background that was just all trimmed, probably for better, if I had to guess.
Yeah,
but Doug Jones,
maybe
it's not on your blue bomb.
More, I don't know.
There's not an uncut on your blue.
There's definitely deleted scenes on here. I didn't watch them, but some of that might be on there. To be honest with you, 40 minutes is a lot.
It's a lot. That would make a huge cut. Board game movie.
Yeah. And the fact that this film doesn't feel like it's missing a whole lot. I mean, we did say it's like kind of thin on some things, but it doesn't sound like those scenes would add a lot there.
Yeah, I would like for it to beef it up, and I would like to think that it would, but I don't think there's an amount of beefing it up that would justify 40 minutes, maybe 20.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. So that's all I got for trivia. Let's go ahead and jump into our Cooter of the Week.
Straight chillin'.
Cooter of the Week.
Juice, what is a cooter? Why do we hunt them?
Oh, Cooter's character type. On a straight challenge exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter, but we want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall looking attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, let me submit a surprise cooter to you today.
Oh my god.
Let me say potentially for considering.
Oh my god.
The mom.
Okay.
Whoa.
Describe why.
Manipulation, check. Yeah, she's manipulating people at the very beginning of this film, tricking them specifically, like developing ways to trick them out of their money, essentially. Okay.
Although she does turn that first guy away to signal that they're not.
She does, but she's like making or trying to make a living off of like lying to people. So
yeah,
making them feel better, Justin.
Yeah, manipulation, check. I would say kind of I don't know. Where should I put her? Keeping her daughter out of school, patheticness of like.
I don't know if it really marks that.
I don't. Well, she obviously, like you kind of said, she has a hard time making money, which is sympathetic, but she can like go get a job and not trick people out of money. And instead, when she finally is able to pay off the bank, instead of like taking that as a kind of like, I don't know, get your shit together kind of thing. I'm not like, I don't have to hustle right now. Yeah. Instead, she just keeps her daughter out of school to hustle. I'm not hustle people anymore, but still. I'm
not saying that that's good.
Should be in school.
Yeah, I agree. Like, and I don't think that is good, but I also don't know that it really fits any of the points. I think that's a whole different negative attribute.
Because she can't make. Well, also too, her daughter's the one with the powers, and she can't make money on her own. I guess is kind of the thing. So she's using her daughter to kind of support the family instead of just like going and getting a regular job. Like, go get a
For
regular
sake
job.
of
I guess,
argument,
yeah.
let's just chalk it up to patheticness and see what else we got. So
Okay,
two.
so we got two. Smug arrogance, looking attire, and sexual deviance.
The only one that even remotely could work, as far as I can tell, is the sexual deviance, because she's making eyes at a priest, but she never goes to the level of actually like
Yeah.
coming at him and trying to
Yeah.
get him.
Yeah.
So I think they really just relate on a having lost a partner level and sort of a regret of time lost sort of thing.
I might have a case for smug arrogance. It might be loose, but
Okay.
this is another thing that bothered me. I forgot to mention it, and so I kind of want to just bring it up anyways, but it might fit. For smug arrogance, when they go to dinner and she's already kind of like flirting with him and stuff like that, and they share a common thing where they both have lost partners, so that's fine. But I found it like, it really turned me off to this character when she's like, Father, you should come by and I'll give you a reading to talk to your dead wife. That's just fucked, you know? And it's almost from this moment where she's like kind of like, again, using her daughter, because she doesn't actually have the power. She's kind of channeling through her daughter, and she's like, yeah, we can do these things. And to be like, hey, I could talk to your dead wife. Why don't you come talk to your dead wife? It's like, that's not chill.
That's a little much, but I also don't know that it's like arrogance so much as
I don't
like
think
foot
so.
in mouth.
Okay.
Like I don't know.
think
I
she
just don't
gets it.
see it, and I don't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
see it in this movie in general. I don't.
Me either.
Yeah.
I feel
I'm
like
sure-
if anybody was gonna be the cooter in the writing process, it would probably be the boyfriend. But he doesn't. He's just a stand-up guy. So
Yeah, he's pretty chill.
Yeah. I think if we saw more of the doctor, I'm sure we could make the doctor into like
True.
a cooter. But I don't think there's one in this movie, honestly.
Yeah.
Nah, PG-13. All right.
Maybe
No room
Hasbro's the
for
real
cooters.
cooter here.
yeah, actually, that's a fair.
Purely and simply evil.
We'll just chalk it up to capitalism as the cooter. There we go.
That's we book them every week.
Hell yeah, brother.
Burn it down.
Ouija, Orgasms of Evil is cooter free since 2016. You heard it here, folks. Let's go ahead and kick back, chill the fuck out, talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Rand Deuce, what you been watching?
Not a whole ton. I have been playing, and I think I mentioned this, a game called Hades on Switch recently, which I know I'm late to the party on that one. That the big first wave is left already. They've announced Hades 2, all that shit. But it's a lot of fun. It's a fun game. I also just started Tunic for the first time, and it is also a good fun game that is much harder than I would have given it credit for on first blush. So yeah, I'm enjoying those two games. But aside from that, there hasn't been a whole ton. There are 3 things that I've been watching, and I think I might have mentioned one already. I did finish Severance Season 1. I don't know if I mentioned that last week or not. Did I?
You were
I don't
watching
think so.
it.
I don't think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I hadn't quite finished it. Severance Season 1, I finished that, and buddy, what a cliffhanger. I'm excited as hell for the next season. Things really ramped up in that show in a big way. I recommend it. I don't know what else to say, really.
Yeah.
And then the other 2 things, I did watch The Whale in theaters, which was an extreme bummer of a film, as you might expect from
What?
a man named Aronofsky.
Mhm.
I will say, like, it's like fucking chock full of all the goodness you would normally find in movies that he would make, where it's like chock full of symbolism and chock full of like great fucking acting. But I have not really deciphered the core edict of that movie yet, and I haven't spent a whole lot of time thinking about it since. I feel like for me, like, unless there's something that like I really stumble across in talking or thinking about it that really like blows me away, I think it's going to be a lesser entry for him from my perspective. But I don't think it was bad at all, and I think Fraser and Hong Chow, they both fucking kill it in this movie. Really, everybody who shows up in this movie kills it. So it's a good movie. It's just one that's like a little bit inscrutable to me, and I think he maybe took the criticisms about Mother being too on the nose way to heart with this one.
I thought it was an adaptation of Moby Dick.
It's apparently is. So
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
There's some stuff in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
there's some
Damn,
there's
okay,
some
never
Yeah.
mind.
correlations made.
I was
Yeah.
fucking around.
The movie is not.
I haven't got a chance to see it yet. Damn. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
And the last thing I watched this week that was new for me was The Deep House, which I was very interested in seeing. It seemed like a cool setting to set a film in. And yeah, the setting is the best thing you can really say about that movie, in my opinion. I think it's otherwise pretty by the numbers. And man, the ADR, like, I know it's hard to have acting underwater. The bulk of your film is
Oh,
underwater.
yeah. Mhm.
I understand there are challenges there, but the ADR really made it feel like sound system piping in color language and a fucking theme park ride. It seemed like I was in the Nautilus at fucking 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride, and people were just like saying things through speakers at me. It really, like, it was just very wooden acting, unfortunately, and I didn't dig it that much. So that's my feelings on that.
Bummer.
And that's it.
Tight. Juice, what you been watching?
I've been playing some games again. It's been a while since I've just been like, I'm playing some games. So late to the parties, of course, like Randuce, but I finished Link's Awakening, which I love the remake of that for Switch. They did a great job. That should be kind of the idea of like remaking a lot of those old kind of like handheld games and stuff. They did a really good job. The art style is beautiful and really just a really, really good adaptation. And I played a little Mario Kart 8 because it came on my Switch. It's a fun little run. But the big thing was I finally am now playing Hollow Knight, which that sequel is also like coming out this year, I think, too. So I've always seen it. I always really loved seeing kind of like the art style and stuff like that, and the kind of dark moodiness of it all. But just finally now getting around to it. I'm kind of glad I did wait for the Switch though, because it seems like that's kind of one of the best formats for it. And I'm enjoying it so far. It's hard. Those games where they just don't tell you anything and you just gotta figure
Tunic
it
is
out.
like that.
Yeah, it's
Tunic
tough.
literally uses a made-up language that they don't translate for you.
Holy shit. Damn.
It's fucking crazy.
Well, they kind of do that. Well, they do translate it for you, but anyways, it's fun and I like it. I really still like actually playing through the art style and having the music in the background and stuff. It looks beautiful. I really do like it. Style wise. Films, I've been watching some new things. I watched Megan. I was not impressed. A lot of people seem to be having fun with it, and that's good for them, I guess. I really thought it was not great. But so yeah, I haven't decided if I want to do a mini cast where I kind of just take that negative approach or just let people have their fun. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts.
Prick I am.
Let me know your thoughts after this episode. But and then I also watched, me and Bob were chilling yesterday before the game and put on what is it, Pale Blue Eye on Netflix with Christian Bale. It's about, you know, Edgar Allan Poe and stuff. So I was like, I thought it had some good stuff going on. It was maybe a little too self-indulgent in some areas, but it's kind of like this mystery going on, and it's a you know, timepiece and stuff like that. Edgar Allan Poe is a character and they're solving this mystery, and you know, it was kind of fun. A good winter watch. It looks cold as shit in that, and so it was decent enough, especially for a Netflix film. Too long, as Netflix films tend to be, but generally pretty okay. That's all I've been watching. Bob, what you been watching, my guy?
Yo, I mean, basically the same shit that you have. So yeah, The Pale Blue Eye on Netflix, long as fuck. It was fine. The ending scene was like comically stretched out to me. It was blowing my mind.
It was
like,
after Bob slept through like 30 minutes of it, then Bob
I
criticized
fell
at the end.
At least the first 20 minutes of it. And I woke up, I was like,
this thread they're tying up.
I was like, oh yeah. I was like, hey, Juice, that's Poe, right? And he's like, yeah, what the fuck? And I was like, oh, I just woke up. We got a
whole soliloquy.
we got a new puppy, and like sleep has been sparse. So,
Pup.
the fucking end of that movie was blowing my mind. Like, we get it, fucking end the movie. It wouldn't fucking end. It was blowing my mind. I also ended up watching Megan in theaters, and it's fine. It is just fine. It's also another PG-13 joint, and I think like teenagers going to see it that's, you know, they don't know anything about Chucky or whatever, are probably having a great time. It's definitely like modernized, sort of in the way that Chucky remake was. They take it a little bit further than that. And it's fine. You know, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it.
My sister mentioned that she went to go see it Friday night, and we were talking about it a little bit on Saturday because I had watched it by then. And she's not big into horror, but she kind of likes to dabble to get that little bit of thrill, but she can't go anything too scary. She wasn't impressed either, so I was at least like, okay, I'm not insane. I'm not going, because it's getting a lot of praise, and I just don't get it. So.
Yeah, it
This
made
Chucky
like
can floss.
and death. It made like 45 million or something, so we're gonna get a sequel.
What?
There's gonna be.
I'll save it for the.
Are we gonna get the eventual
minicast. I'll
Annabelle
save it for the
versus
minicast.
Megan?
film? I would
Oh
watch that.
God.
This is gonna be a Megan deuce. She's gonna deuce on our faces.
Oh God.
Megan and Annabelle take me.
I'll like it then.
I'd watch the shit out of that. They just go shopping. That's about
And
it.
they just have like a random like Chucky appearance where his hand off camera and a laugh or some shit.
They're just in Macy's for 6 hours. That's really all I've been watching, to be honest. We do have one more segment to get to, and that is, of course, our Hotline Screams.
Oh, fuck yeah!
Hotline Scream.
If you are listening and would like to call and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We actually got 2 voicemails this week. One of them has some technical difficulties. We're not going to be able to play it. So shouts outs to Chris. If you are listening, man, try and call back again this week and leave your voicemail once again, if you don't mind. We'll play it on next week's show.
Chris?
No, different Chris.
Okay, different Chris. Okay.
Your call kept dropping. There was a lot of audio missing, so I couldn't even really get the full picture of what you were saying. But yeah, call back again, man. We did get our second voicemail came in from the Straight Chilling Mailman. Let's listen to what he's got to say.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I haven't called in a while. It's a Straight Chilling Mailman. The horror movie that I'm most anticipated of seeing this year is Ari Aster's new film that's coming up. It was supposed to be called Disappointment Boulevard, but he changed it to Beau is Afraid. I don't know if it's going to be 100% horror, but I'm looking forward to anything Ari Aster's making, because Midsommar and Hereditary were very good movies. But yeah, Happy New Year. Keep up the good work, guys. Hard with soju, and keep chilling.
Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, that's thanks for calling, man.
Thanks for being hard with soju, my guy.
It's weird that people only talk about the state of their dick in reference to soju.
Well, that's what I encourage. So.
My dick is wrecked. Thanks, soju.
Wrecked.
Hashtag wrecked with soju. It's very it's strange. It's interesting.
Nah, Bob, you just sounds like someone's jealous over there.
Cooter like some might
shade.
say. Well, yeah, all right. Yeah, Beau is Afraid.
Yeah. I keep forgetting that's coming out. That
poster makes it seem like it's fucking what's that movie? Benjamin Button. That's what I was getting.
Yeah. It does.
And like that could maybe it's just not really a horror movie at all, which is fine.
Yeah.
But also
I don't think it is.
I don't really know anything about it, so the poster's not
and
great.
I kind of don't want to.
Ari Aster and Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, that's It's good enough to have me intrigued.
Sure.
When it was first announced, I believe he pitched it as a dark comedy, if I remember correctly. I don't think it's an outright horror movie.
Yeah, but Ari Aster dark is the fucking bottoms of hell.
Yeah,
so.
that dude's heavy. That dude's real.
Yeah, I mean, if he's adding some dark to his comedy, it's pretty much gonna be a horror film then.
This is not a movie you're gonna be like, oh, that is wicked. Oh, you
We're all
bad
just weeping.
boy.
Look at their
Oh my
skull
God.
caved in.
Oh,
that
God.
saucy bitch.
What
Man.
wit this
It's funny.
Aster has.
It's funny the way Meat Canyon is funny.
Dude, oh my lord.
Oh,
My boy, meat
yeah.
on the
It
track.
could be good though, man. Ari hasn't led us astray yet, as far as I'm concerned. So
my boy meat on the track for
Yeah.
sure.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I
what?
mean, so far. Also, it's interesting too because we got a couple. So we had Jordan Peele. He had his third film. We
Mhm.
had Eggers had his third film. So now Ari Aster, that squad kind of was releasing highly respected films all at the same time, and each one I think was kind of their dip so far. Still all good movies. So we'll see if Ari Aster if he's fitting in with that trend so far. We'll see.
Yeah, the junior slump.
The junior dump.
What?
That's what I'm calling it.
Okay, we know you're the scat man.
We know, Bob. Okay. Thanks for calling, Mailman. Always good to hear from you. Again, if you're listening and want to call and leave a voicemail for next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. Prompts for next week, gentlemen. You guys
Here's
have
a
any
prompt.
ideas? Okay.
Is there a PG-13 horror movie that you watched in your formative years that you would recommend for somebody else going through the transition to horror fiend? I would love to know what movies of that rating really impacted people at a young age to where they were intrigued by horror in general.
I feel like didn't we just last year cover a PG-13 movie that we were like, wow, yeah, this should be considered one of the best or whatever for PG-13?
I mean, there's been a few.
Yes.
I can't think of that.
What was it? Do y'all remember what it was?
I just don't remember.
I just remember talking about that. So I'm looking
Lake
up
Placid.
now. So apparently Split was PG-13. That seems not true.
The Sadness.
The Sadness, PG-13.
Yeah, Split was
Turbo
PG-13.
No.
Apparently Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was also PG-13.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and Fear Street.
A Quiet Place.
Fear Street and Quiet Place is going. Yeah, there's some good middle ground, not too intense, not too lame horror properties that have come out. And
Insidious? Yeah, Insidious.
yeah, I think Insidious would count towards that.
Fuck my ass.
I
Okay.
won't do it.
Cloverfield's a good one. None of these are old school ones. But yeah.
Yeah, I think
Well,
so.
they can't be too old school.
Monster Squad.
Well, yeah, PG-13 was invented in the mid '80s, so that's really
okay.
as old school as you can go.
Okay.
So yeah, don't blow up too many of them. Let people call in and say.
Nope, I'm going through the
Road.
list now.
Every single one.
Oh my God, what?
3231. Let us know what PG-13 horror movie fucked you up as a kid. That's going to do it for us this week at Straight Chilling. We will be back next week with a brand new show. As always, we're going to be talking about a theatrical release. We're going to be talking about Skinamarink.
Marinky dink.
Isn't it, my friends?
Skinamarinky doo,
Skinamarinky doo.
I'm hard with you. All right.
Oh my God, Rafi, please.
Weird. Just real weird. So check out Skinamarink.
Just real weird.
Get ready for next week's show.
Just real weird.
It'll be weird, I promise.
I'll do the
Mm.
whole version next week.
Oh God, there's a whole version.
Skinamarinky dink.
All right, Bob,
No,
let's keep the beat.
I'm going to cut all that out. Until then, please do rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. If you guys have been listening to Old Straight Chillin' Podcast for a hot minute, you haven't left us a rating and a review, please do so. It's a really easy, free way to support the show, and it helps new listeners find us. We really do appreciate it. Hit us up on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can join in on all our bullshit everywhere at Straight Chilling Podcast. If you do want to join in our daily Slack channel conversations, though, hit us up on one of our social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can do so. We talk about the movie of the week. We talk about the mini cast. We talk about fucking recipes, life bullshit. It's a lot of fun. It's
Justin's
a really wonderful
fanfics
community
about our fans / fiction,
They
involving
seem-
himself
they
and
se-
listeners.
They seem to
If
be
you want to
into
be a
it.
part of that,
Yeah, they seem to be into it. I'm sure, says Soju. He makes it weird, but not that weird, but weird for sure.
You
Please
want
come
some
hang out
fan
make you feel
fiction about
weird.
yourself? Join our Slack.
that'll be forced upon you. Do your thing, cuz join us on Slack. Until next week, as always, all you motherfuckers, please keep chilling.